It's October 2017, and human beings have never produced so much data. Over 90% of data available today was produced within the last 2 years. Each day, we collectively produce 2.5 exabytes of data. This is a colossal sum, and it's only going to continue to grow. Let's jump ahead a few years. It's 2025. We're no longer speaking about a digital revolution. It's happened. The digital revolution has upset all sectors and significantly changed many aspects of our daily lives. Everything that we do and everywhere we go generates hundreds of thousands of digital footprints, which are used to create algorithms, which then can customize and improve each user's experience and optimize resource management. The cloud is more than ever a vital technology for the world economy. Data centers are the factories of the world, where the new, most valuable resource is refined: data. The future looks promising, but it also holds great challenges. Challenges like the protection of personal data, respect for privacy, infrastructure security, the impact of energy used by data centers and technology. Yes, we must consider these questions today, along with our ability to provide the necessary resources to store and process this exponential amount of data. 2025 is tomorrow. Are you ready? We are. The next level is underway.
Hello to everyone. Hello everyone. I'm very pleased to find you all here today for the 5th time at the OVH Summit. Each year, you are more and more numerous to come to this summit. That's why we've decided this year to change to a new site, and we found this site, and maybe we'll be at the Zenith next time. Who knows? In any case, I am very pleased to find you here today and to talk to you about lots and lots of innovations. There's about 2,000 of you for the keynote, and for the first time, the keynote is going to be broadcast live on the internet. This year, OVH is going to celebrate its 10th anniversary, and the majority we finished structuring ourselves. The 18th anniversary. A lot of things were constructed, and in my opinion, it's just the beginning. OVH is entering into a new phase of its life, and it's now that we're going to really build things that are incredible. Even if OVH today is already a success, it's only the start. It's not by chance that today OVH is where it is today. Since the beginning, we have thought over the long term. This is why this strategy is translated by some heavy investments, not short-term rentals, not a 6-month vision or a 1 or 2 year vision. No, we really look at the long term. And the long term is at least 10 years. It's 20 years. And today, we're continuing with the same approach, but on a global scale. OVH now has all the necessary financing. It can easily accelerate even faster. So, the amount of our investments only depends on you, ultimately. If tomorrow you ask us, let's say, 100,000 additional supplementary servers in your data centers or 100,000 virtual machines, we will be able to provide them to you. That's what allows us to see the future with confidence. OVH is here for the long term, and we're here to last. As the General Director of OVH, my role is to understand your developments, to anticipate the changes of your business models, of your needs. Why? So that OVH can continue to evolve and can continue to accompany you over time. And you know what? I love this job. I see a lot of similarities between a general director or general manager or CEO and a developer. A dev, yep. Instead of developing software with algorithms, instead of manipulating data with code that's executed on thousands of servers, in fact, I organize a sort of human software through an organization of several thousand employees and coworkers who develop and grow within OVH to respond to your needs. From the morning until the evening, I think about how we can encode this passion of my teams to be even more customer-centric. How can we stay agile and continue to innovate, all the while becoming the partner for the big groups with whom we work from now on regularly? How can we recruit 80 people per month and remain close to our customers who are startups? And I see a lot of startups here in this room today. That reminds me of a lot of good memories. I know a lot about this problem. I went by that stage myself. 2 years ago, I said to you, OVH is no longer a startup. Definitively, OVH is no longer a startup. And today I say to you, OVH is a multinational. Yes, OVH is a multinational. And to accompany you, there's more than 2,100 people in 19 countries. And this year, we're going to have growth of 30% in our revenues. And yet, what interests me is to keep the ingredients that have made for our success. That's what will allow us to remain close to you and to continue to accompany you over time. And it is quite a challenge that I've decided to take up, knowing full well that in 2020, we will be an enterprise of more than 4,200 people with revenues close to $1 billion. Thank you. So I've been talking now for a few minutes, and I can already see there's a lot of faces that seem to ask questions. Yes, our teams count for a lot. As you all know, we have a Chief Happiness Officer. And at Roubaix Valley, we built a sports room. It's great because everybody can go, and I went first and foremost. And so we launched a challenge 5 months ago to lose 18 kilos by this summit. 18 kilos for 18 years of our voyage. And I did it. I managed. It's done. So launching challenges, working hard, and achieving those challenges, that is the mindset of OVH. This year has been incredible. It's been absolutely unbelievable. Everything's accelerating for you. Well, the same thing for us. You are transforming yourselves. We are also transforming. OVH is investing very heavily. 5 billion will be invested over the next 5 years, over the current 5 years. Every week we have new employees, 20 per week. Every 4 months we do a new data center. So for you, OVH is moving on to the next level, and that's exactly the theme of our summit, the next level. We saw in the introductory video, and I'm sure you will see this every day, the digital revolution is all the more present in our daily lives, and that's we can really see that the cloud usage is changing as well. All these exchanges that are more and more intense go through the cloud. They go through the networks, go through the data centers. And what I want is that they go through our data centers, by our networks and by our cloud, the OVH cloud. It's thanks to you and our customers that we have become the European leader of the cloud. And I thank you very much for that trust you've placed in us. And when I look at our competitors, the Americans, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, or the Chinese, Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, I am hyper excited. Competitors like that is very stimulating. It gives me the desire to challenge them. And at the same time, I regret to note that we are the only European in the whole list. I'm sure because we have not succeeded in creating the conditions so that there can be other OVH companies in Europe. And quite often you say, we need European cloud. Yes, we need European cloud services. Yes, you need these choices. You need alternatives to the Americans and to the Chinese. And it's a very strong responsibility, a heavy responsibility for us. And it's why it's so important that OVH reaches the next level. In the 21st century, to be strong in Europe, you need to be everywhere throughout the world. That's why the OVH strategy is to be one of the leaders in the world of cloud services. A global hyperscale cloud provider. That is our vision. For the last 12 months, we put into production a lot of new data centers. At the last summit, I announced 3 in a long series, Australia, Singapore, and Poland. Since then, we've put into production 3 others, Germany, England, and the eastern seaboard of the United States, in Virginia, with our first data center there. In parallel, during the last 12 months, in the 4 historic sites in Roubaix, Strasbourg, Gravelines, and Canada, we have built 1 additional data center per site. The works in Oregon and the west coast of the United States is moving forward, and soon we will have Spain and Italy online. All these announcements concerning all these deployments have generated a lot of positive feedback, and I thank you for giving us this feedback. It's by proving to you, by showing to you, proposing all of our catalog in all these 27 data centers located in 12 sites throughout the world, that we are showing to you and demonstrating our capacity to accompany you in all your digital projects. It is by continuing to invest in our global network that interconnects our data centers that we will simplify and accelerate the deployment of your projects in the cloud. And it's quite naturally that in the coming years, OVH will propose all its services through more than 50 data centers throughout the world. I have an announcement to make to you. In addition to these 50 data centers, I want OVH to be able to propose its services in private data centers. For big account customers, OVH is going to propose all of its service catalog, all the cloud services, as you know, with all of its characteristics, pay-as-you-go, Hyperscale, and in the private data centers, you have one, all dedicated to one single client, and all of this is quite revolutionary. I'm announcing to you the public cloud in private data centers for private customers.
The U.S.
is
the largest IT market in the world.
Is the largest IT market in the world.
Competition. Time to market changes everything. In U.S., it's where OVH can check if it has really innovated. In U.S., it's not the price that matters most, but the value that OVH delivers to the customers. For that level of the ambition, for that level of the challenge, we needed a real American team. We need an experienced team with the OVH mindset. And we have found it. It's to that team, OVH US, that I delegate the responsibility to execute our strategy in the USA. They are fully autonomous, so OVH can create a perfect isolation of the data between the American customers and all others. And that is unique. I will give the floor to the CEO of OVH US, Russell Reader, who will speak about the OVH recent acquisition of vCloud from VMware, and the employees, customers, and the capabilities that came with that acquisition. He will also talk about the US market and the strategy. Russell Reader, please.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you.
Bonjour, Paris. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being an OVH customer or soon-to-be customer. I look forward to sharing with you our vision in the United States, our plan, and how it can help you. So as you know, as we enter the US market, just coming in to one of the most mature markets with a little bit of competition, but so much opportunity. The US market is 56% of the global market. So now with our success in Europe, in the world, it's time to bring OVH to the United States of America. And with that, you may say, wow, it's going to be so hard to take the customers away from our competition. Not only will we take many, many customers away from our competition by providing them better solutions at a better value with better service, the market is growing exponentially. It's going from over 20 billion today. Within 4 years, it will double to over 50 billion. That is an amazing opportunity for us. So picture this. Right after KKR puts in $250 million into OVH, I get a call from KKR, my friends, and say, we'd like you to talk to Octave, the founder of OVH. I knew who OVH was. I said, sure. He's going to be in Virginia in August, about 1 year ago. I sit down with Octave. He's trying to figure out, like he said, the mindset and the right team. We're supposed to sit down for an hour. 5 hours later, we had to talk so Octave could get to his meeting that he was already late to. We talked about the opportunity in the United States to come in as a global hyperscale cloud provider, taking our technology, and we really have reinvented cloud hosting from the bottom up, building our servers with proprietary technology and data centers and security and people. How do we bring that to the United States? And what markets should we target? The customers that could really take advantage of the OVH technology, that high performance, high security, with the best network. And we knew that we could go after education and healthcare. We could go after those IT professionals that wanted high capacity at the best value. And we are at home in that technology sector. But we didn't want to bring all of the products over at once. We wanted to focus on where the market was really ready for us. 65% of the market in the United States is still on premises. 85% of VMware workloads are still on premises. Sounds like a great opportunity. So we brought over our private cloud with VMware vSphere, which, by the way, out of the past 6 years, we've been the European #1 leader. OpenStack, we're a big believer in the open source community and our open cloud framework. Have that be our public cloud. And then, of course, with our dedicated servers and bare metal to bring all that automation and where we excel as a software-driven data center to power everything else with our great network and security, but all built on a foundation of support and people to provide the right service. And what does that mean for you? How many people here have customers in the USA? Show of hands. How many would like to have more customers in the USA, right? Even more. How exciting that not only do we have our own network, we have our own thousands of miles of dark fiber that wrap around the world, that once you're in our network, you can come over to the US, take advantage of the US market. Because not only is the cloud market 56% of the worldwide market, the customer base is massive for you to go attack. And once you're there, you'll soon be able to take advantage of our over 16 POPs, specifically located in the largest metropolitan areas. And taking advantage of our network, and you'll soon hear about HCX and our layer 2, where you can real-time transfer of your workloads using the VMware technology. Very exciting. And within VMware, I think you all know that we had the opportunity to acquire VMware's vCloud Air division. So we get the plan approved to go into the US on November 30th. 2 weeks later, Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of VMware, calls us up and says, as our #1 provider in EMEA and one of our best partners globally, we would like you to acquire vCloud Air, because we know you can take advantage of our technology and you can take care of our customers and our people. With that acquisition, we brought over about 1,000 customers, enterprise customers, customers that you all know like Sainsbury, MIT, Harley-Davidson, Darlington, and since the deal, we've closed many more. Ladbrokes is one of the newest. And with that, today I would like to introduce the CTO of VMware, Ray O'Farrell, who comes to us as one of the early adopters as software-defined data centers, and his background within VMware. Ray's got a great background within VMware with NSX, and has, from EMEA, he has a Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics, a master's in engineering and computer science from the University of Limerick in Ireland. Bray Farrell.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It is great to be here. You know, when I came in here this morning, right, the buzz about this place is really, really good. People seem to be wanting to engage with each other, understand how they can leverage some of the great technologies from OVH here. So let me dive right in a little bit and tell you about the great relationship and partnership between VMware and OVH. First of all, let me just take a step back for a second and talk a little bit about the VMware broad vision. So broadly speaking, at the heart of what we do is focus on hybrid cloud. We have made a decision that says we believe that most enterprises will embrace cloud, but they will do so in a way which is going to involve connectivity between their private cloud and their public clouds. And when you look at that vision, that requires that we need to have great partnerships with great public cloud providers, particularly those public cloud providers who are able to understand the needs of enterprises and the needs of what's going to happen as they connect back into their private cloud infrastructure. And as you expand that concept, you're going to see how do you work with things like SaaS? How do you move out to the edge? How do you begin to manage whole new classes of applications and developers on that infrastructure, but in a public cloud fashion? When you think about those partnerships and how are you going to build those partnerships, over the years, VMware and OVH have built a great partnership together, and we continue to make sure that we strengthen and make that partnership ever richer. First of all, when we look at OVH, as you've just heard here, it has got a global presence as a cloud provider. It's got nearly 1 million customers. It's got somewhere in Europe 200,000 VMs, vSphere VMs within their data centers. A great partnership that has been going on for many years between the two companies. In fact, when VMware started the whole VMware Cloud Provider Network, this used to be called the vCloud Air Network, OVH was one of the earliest companies to engage in that. And as you also heard today, over the years it has won many times the award from VMware as one of our best cloud providers out there and cloud partners out there. At the heart of what VMware does is the SDDC, the software-defined data center. And that involves representing your compute, your network, your storage infrastructure from a software point of view. And when you do that, you get to really leverage and drive automation. And one of the big strengths that we find when we work with OVH is that desire to relentlessly drive automation across everything that they do and how that benefits the customers on the other hand. So a great relationship building because of our joint view of what these technologies should be about. However, last year, we struck a real strategic partnership here. This is not just a partnership of two companies working together. VMware, as you heard a few moments ago from Russ, transferred our vCloud public cloud infrastructure over to OVH. We are very proud of how we work with our customers. And it is a testament to the relationship and how we view OVH that we were able to go out and say, this is the company for which we want to trust our vCloud Air customers with, and that company is OVH. And that has proven to be very strong over the last few months as we work closely together on that. One of the key things we want to do is make sure, however, that we continue driving innovation across the two companies. And what we have worked is obviously on things like automation, obviously on how do we integrate some of the vCloud Air assets into OVH. But we've also begun to focus on hardcore engineering partnership together. There's a clear sense here that we can be better together in what we do. You heard a reference to a project a few moments ago called HCX. What exactly is this? If you think about what a hybrid cloud is, it requires that it recognizes that a customer is going to have on-prem infrastructure with applications and off-prem infrastructure with applications. But you really only get to deliver the true strength of private cloud when you can connect these things together. And when you connect these things together in a way that allows you to manage them in a unified fashion. And that's what you get with HCX. It leverages VMware's networking technology. It leverages how do we represent the same type of VMs across both the on-prem and private cloud, and you get to manage these using a single portal available from OVH. This piece of technology is something that VMware engineers and OVH engineers are working on daily. I spoke briefly a few moments ago as I came in here to one of the VPs of R&D at OVH. And we were able to talk about what our individual engineers are working at, the names of those engineers. It is that close a relationship as we focus on this type of technology. The goal of this is to give you unparalleled hybrid management from on-prem to off-prem. You can move your applications back and forth. More importantly, you can move your data back and forth in a secure fashion. And that's really the essence of what a true hybrid cloud is. So with that, I'd just like to thank Russ for giving me the opportunity to come up here. I'd like to thank many of you for being OVH and VMware customers, and have a great rest of this summit.
Great, thank you, Ray. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. We'll bring back on stage our founder, Octave Klaba.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Octave.
Thank you, Ray. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. We can see that on top of speaking English, we need to learn, and next to speaking English, we need to learn lots from them. I find it extremely interesting to exchange with Ross and his teams about the implementation of our IS strategy. That is extremely interesting because very often the US market, particularly the IT market in the US, is far ahead of all the other markets. And one I find interesting is, and the question I'm asking myself is, how can I benefit? How can I bring these advances to my clients? How can I make my clients benefit from that? And in Europe and France, I've been reading recently in the newspaper, OVH is a website hoster. And I find that very strange because we're far more than that. So what? We also have a client, a big group, who said, Octave, you have to explain your strategy to me. So recently, I read a very interesting tweet from a client. The information is that OVH has a strategy. I don't understand that strategy, but that doesn't matter. So I asked myself, why do people say this about you? Of course we have a strategy, and we communicated around the strategy. So why is it that some of our clients do not understand what our strategy is? Why is it that some of you don't understand our strategy? To try to answer this question, I'm going to invite on the stage our Chief Digital Marketing Officer, Xavier Perret. Hi, Octave. So let me know, Xavier, why do we get this type of feedback from our clients, even though our strategy is extremely clear? OVH doesn't have a strategy problem. OVH grew so fast that there is actually a gap between its image and its positioning. And it starts now with Roubaix Valley. Look at the car I've seen the other day in Roubaix, because this car has been standing every day in front of our offices, and I never saw the message. We have a big gap. I mean, even our official cars still say that we're the #1 web hosters in France. So if we want to refocus on the international scale, if we want to continue to innovate, if we want to continue to meet our clients' expectations, we need to adapt. All conserving our mindset, because that is what makes the strengths and the success of OVH. And so we decided to get mobilized, to group all our ranges, all our offers around 3 brands. 3 brands which we want to reinforce, that we want to make clearer, more visible, that we're going to launch in all our partner countries in the next weeks and months. So we've decided to regroup all our activities around 3 brands in order to better carry over all our clients and meet the needs of our clients in the world. The first brand, because that is really the core of our OVH activity, and it's the cloud. We're launching OVHcloud. So who is OVH Cloud for? This is for all the companies who are experiencing first-hand digital transformation. They don't want to just live it. They also want to benefit from it and take all opportunities out of it. So if you want to win new business in the international field by deploying an e-commerce website, or if you want to set up platforms between subcontracting partners in the industry, if you want to reinvent your business processes or your client relationships in the bank, in the insurance, if you want to deploy connected objects in the smart buildings, and OVH Cloud is for you. So OVH Cloud today represents more than 50% of our revenue share. But which is most important is that these market segments at OVH, we have a growth of 50% annual growth. It is great. It is unbelievable. And that is why we have created this brand that is dedicated to the cloud. And OVH Cloud is for all companies, whatever your legacy systems, your story, your IT infrastructure, your initial configuration. OVH Cloud is adapted to you, whatever your standards, if you want to have public cloud, private cloud, whatever, we are adapted to it. If you have critical needs, if you have very strong expectations in terms of resilience, in terms of scalability, and also, of course, in terms of safety, this is what OVH Cloud is offering. OVH Cloud really regroups all our cloud offers, the three service infrastructures, storage, PaaS, network, with attributes like pay-as-you-go, worldwide scalability, with API that is based on standards. On top of these products, we also adapt our services in order to work together with our clients. So OVH is working with you together, transforming your processes in the technical structuration of your processes by offering you architects, solution architects and engineers, developing engineers. And it also is with you in the daily life. Our technical account managers are here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is true for you, but also for all your technological partners. OVH Cloud, it's all our standard products, worldwide scalability, based on API standards, but also with professional services attached to them. And what is interesting is with one single point of contact, you have access to all our resources around the world. Our range and our brand, they are a worldwide brand and a worldwide range. That means that if you want to work on a worldwide parameter, but you need to have a single point of contact at OVH, a single account at OVH, then you just work with our US cloud teams. But if you want to work outside of the Patriot Act area, then you can work with our European teams. And that we're the only ones that can offer this service to you. We are offering one single point of contact for all your cloud projects around the world, with or without the Patriot Act option. We haven't forgotten our legacy clients. For them, we are creating our second brands. For years, OVH has been working with the clients who want to have a performing and adaptive clouds just for their needs. Nothing more, nothing less. So you already know the range, so you start Kim Sufi, the VPS range and offers, and many more. And in order to reinforce this range, we are going to bring them all together in a single range that represents the core of OVH, the actual originating spirit of OVH. That's why we've called it OVHspirit. OVHspirit, it's three things: performance, performance, and even more performance. OVH Cloud plus OVHspirit represents today more than 75% of our turnover. So to ask me, where's the brand of the Roubaix company offering internet name domains, internet access, exchange, fiber, phones, IP phones, and website hosting. So for the entire telecom and web universe, it will be OVHmarket. OVHmarket, it's all of the services, connectivity, office work, hosting, software service, whatever your area of industry. If you are a small-time entrepreneur, if you are a middle-level company, if you're professionals, if you a incorporated society, OVHmarket facilitates your digital life in order allowing you to save time to develop your audience and your business. You don't have to focus on IT, you just focus on what you do best. So let's sum up. OVHcloud, the cloud, worldwide cloud, scalable with professional services. OVHspirit, performance adapted to your needs. And OVHmarket, all the digital services for mid-level and small companies. We had, in the past years, we had difficulties to find a partner program that was adapted to different ecosystems. But now we've clarified the ecosystems and we stripped it into 3 categories. Finally, we're going to provide offers that are adapted to each of the individual ecosystems of our partners. So for OVHcloud, regarding our distributors, integrators, our IT companies, and also software providers and ISD companies. For OVHspirit, we are targeting our partners for Sales Cloud and our no brand name distributors. And of course, OVHmarket, based on our installators, web agencies, but also all those local small companies which you represent here today, and that provide absolutely fundamental services to the society in terms of connectivity and office services to non-IT companies.
Voilà la simplification autour des marques. 3 marques.
So this is our strategy around our 3 brands and 1 program for each brand. And we also create a single manager for all of these 3 brands. And because these 3 brands are only meaningful if OVH is capable of providing a simple customer relationship. The aim is to be able to configure these services, modify them, interact with OVH with 1 single client interface, 1 single manager, a single API, a single customer space, whatever the range of services from OVH. That's how we have simplified. We've clarified our offer, the ecosystems. This is our next level in order to help you to better master your digital daily life, regardless of what type of clients you are, direct clients, indirect clients, partners, or clients on our website platform. I explained to you our strategy. What is our vision? Everything that OVH does to remain close to its clients, to you. OVH is developing. It's developing worldwide. We're performing strongly in Europe, we're starting in the US, and we're growing very fast. But we want to stay close to you, our clients. We want to have this client proximity, which we had in the beginning, and keep this proximity and keep what makes up our DNA, because it is thanks to your trust that I see OVH lasting over time. Thank you. Thank you a lot, and I wish you an excellent summit.
Carnot va gagner les Awards Digital Launchpad parce que nous proposons une idée disruptive, unique, écologique et économique, celle de réutiliser la chaleur dégagée par les processeurs informatiques pour faire du chauffage gratuit et écologique, et également d'offrir de la puissance de calcul moins chère parce que nous n'avons pas à construire un data center et les refroidir. Et ça, c'est une idée véritablement unique et dont le monde a besoin.
Prévision.io, c'est une start-up très récente qui a été fondée en septembre 2016, qui est spécialisée dans l'intelligence artificielle, Plus précisément, on édite une plateforme automatisée de machine learning qui a pour objectif de traiter tous les cas d'usage prédictifs pour les entreprises. On va remporter les awards parce qu'on a été créé il y a moins d'1 an. On est une entreprise très jeune, on a une bonne visibilité, on est en train d'accélérer. On a intégré Station F, on a été retenu par les Échos comme les 5 startups les plus innovantes du salon Vivatech. On a été accéléré par Voyage SNCF et ça serait pour nous l'opportunité d'être reconnu une nouvelle fois grâce à OVH.
Therapixel, nous sommes une jeune société fondée en 2013 par 2 anciens chercheurs de l'INRIA. Nous sommes des experts de l'imagerie médicale et plus récemment de l'analyse et l'interprétation de ces mêmes images. Nos produits, depuis 2013, ont convaincu de nombreux sites hospitaliers en France et dans le monde, ainsi que des industriels du secteur qui n'hésitent pas à packager nos solutions dans leurs produits finaux. Nous allons remporter les awards car nous avons une expertise forte en imagerie médicale. Cela couplé à une compétence en intelligence artificielle, nous sommes convaincus de révolutionner le marché de la radiologie.
Pourquoi est-ce qu'on va remporter les awards? On pourrait partir sur la première chose, on a un business model qui est assez solide, on a des besoins clients qui sont réels. On a développé une solution qui est centrée sur l'image et qui leur permet, avec de l'IA, de savoir donc ce qui se dit sur leurs produits, sur leurs concurrents, en voyant ce qu'il y a réellement sur les photos. Donc quel produit, quelle texture, quelle couleur. On a aussi une vraie légitimité dans notre domaine, à savoir le deep learning, puisque la moitié de notre équipe aujourd'hui fait de la recherche dans le domaine.
UTOCAT a été créé dans l'objectif de combler les manques dans les systèmes financiers tels que le crowdfunding et la banque, on va dire, plus classique. On va gagner les Digital Launchpad Awards parce que notre solution est la plus convaincante en France au niveau de la blockchain. C'est les produits les plus avancés que vous trouverez sur le marché. Et grâce à ça, nous, on va pouvoir conquérir tout le marché.
Hello, everyone. Hello. It's a true pleasure to see you here at the summit, and it's wow, there's a number of you. That's top. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the cloud, but more specifically about the cloud of tomorrow, 2020, 2025. It's a complex issue. When you think that this industry of the cloud it's been growing for 30% per year, well, in order to meet this complexity, in order to anticipate of what the cloud is going to be in the future, to better understand your needs, we are very organized. We're organized next level. Today we are ready for that. And thanks to this new reshuffling of the cards, I could spend much more time with you, clients, partners, in France, around the world, to understand, analyze this future. And honestly, this is really fascinating. It's fascinating what is going on with the cloud in the world today. So let's start by looking at how the startups are using the cloud. Have you seen the 5 startups that have been pitching? They have been selected to participate in the award. So this is an award that will be handed over today at 5 o'clock in this by a jury presided by Octave Klaba. This is a new thing in the summit. We're going to deliver a prize to the most innovating startup. There's 5 of them. One of them will receive the award. Please come here at 5 o'clock to see who these startups are and participate in the selection of the winning startup. All these startups are in the digital launch part, the DLP. If you remember, 2 years ago, during the 2015 summit, we launched this program in order to coach all these startups. And in 2 years, we have seen a success that went far beyond we had expected initially in this program. Today, as of today, I'm very happy to tell you that we have more than 1,000 startups active in that program around the world, plus more than 1,000 startups that are active today in the Digital Launchpad. Let's look now at what cloud we want to have. The question is not, are we going towards the cloud? That train has left the station. We are in the cloud now. But what type of cloud do we want tomorrow? It's a choice we have to make. There's two options. Either the companies are completely free what their choices are regarding their choices in terms of cloud, or the technological limitations that are imposed constrain this freedom and these choices and limit these choices. Do we want to have an open cloud? A cloud in which we are free to make our choices? Let's start by putting this issue back into the context of the cloud, by taking external elements taken by public international organizations that have defined a certain number of things regarding the importance of the cloud today in 2017. Be it the OECD or the European Commission or other organizations, they all say that the cloud in 2017 is a strategical factor for the world economy. And this is only 2017. What are we going to say in 2025 when the cloud will be 10 times more important, 10 times bigger? In 8 years, in the next 8 years, it will grow 10 times more. Regarding the cloud infrastructure, we'll be going from 40 billion of turnover to $400 billion in the world in 8 years. We multiply the revenue by 10. So how can we explain such an explosive growth, an exponential opportunity in the cloud? I'll take two main factors to explain this growth. The first one is the exponential growth of data. We see every year a 40% increase in new data that appears in the world. 40% in the world. That means it doubles every 2 years. Every 2 years worldwide, there's twice as much data to store, to analyze. These are huge needs. So we need huge infrastructures to store them, to host them, to treat them, to analyze them, machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, big data of all these new applications. Let's just imagine a robot factory would produce over 1 petabyte of data per day. 1 petabyte of data per day in each factory. A robot car, self-driving car, completely autonomous, is going to produce each day over 5 terabytes of data per day per car. This contributes to this exponential growth of the cloud. There is a second factor. It is the migration of legacy systems. It has started. We've talked about it for the past years, but now this migration has started. In the coming years, it will be more than 100 billion of yearly infrastructure investments that will be going from the company level to the cloud. 100 billion infrastructure spending that will be transferred to the cloud. So yes, the issue is truly a strategic issue. What type of cloud do we want to have tomorrow? What cloud do we really want? This question is, of course, something that we're talking about at OVH. Every company deals with this issue. But at OVH, we are absolutely convinced of one thing. The cloud needs to be open. That is the basic tenet of our philosophy. Companies need to be free to choose their provider, free to change providers, free to spread their applications over numerous providers. But this freedom, we need to be careful with it. We need to fight for it. We need to preserve it. Our conviction for how is in two: one, open and cloud. So, what do we call an open cloud? Let's start with the reversibility of the cloud. Reversibility, you ask yourself this question when you want to change suppliers, cloud suppliers. Is it easy for you to change cloud supplier? And if you want to do it, do you have to rewrite some of your applications? Do you have to face a number of transfer tasks, data transfer tasks that are very heavy, very complex? Is it complex to extract terabytes, petabytes of data and transfer it to another supplier? Then you have the interoperability. This issue comes up when you want to have applications that are spread over various suppliers and you want them to communicate with each other. Is that easy? Can you quickly establish communications between applications and safely that are spread out across various platforms? Or do your technological choices lock you up in a silo? Can you connect your legacy systems and create a hybrid cloud? These are issues which you need to tackle every day. These are issues that we deal with every day. There are standards, there are technological solutions, and most of suppliers, when you ask them, they show you the list of all their standards, and they're it's exhaustive, but there's a difference. Some suppliers, they have a second list, which is a list of proprietary solutions with systems that only function on their platforms, and they create true challenge in terms of reversibility and interoperability. At OVH, we do not have a second agenda. We only have the first agenda. All our solutions are based on open standards, only open standards. Working on the technological bricks, working on the reversibility, interoperability, that's fundamental. But that's not enough. You also need to deal with data security. In this field, there are huge differences between the countries. We want the companies to be able to choose where they host their data. We want to warrant the security, the safety of them, and understand the legal framework that is adapted to these choices. The National Commission for Computers and Freedom, the French data safety organization, they have published a study that shows the differences among the countries. The differences are huge. Not all countries have the same legal frameworks, the same level of data protection. In Europe, we are lucky enough to have a regulatory framework that is fairly rich. We've seen this with the GDPR. And the European works, they are enriched each day, and we work on them each day in order to evolve this framework, in order to adapt, but to maintain safety and data safety and protection. There is now a fourth element of the open cloud, which I want to share with you. It is the intellectual property. That is a new problem, and it appears mainly with advanced services like artificial intelligence. So in order to talk about it, I'm going to take an example, a real example. Let's take a city hall came to see us after they had developed a video protection application. The aim was to automatically detect a threat or threatful behaviors in the city regarding cars or individuals in the city. So City Hall, they decided to develop their own application by using artificial intelligence from a US provider. For 6 months, the IA algorithm learned from the situations. In the beginning, there were lots of false positives, but after 6 months, the system was sufficiently performing to detect truly abnormal behaviors. But for regulatory reasons and economical reasons, the City Hall came to see us and said, my application, I want to host it at OVH. I said, okay, fine. But do you want to host the entire application, including the IA? And that's where the issue of intellectual property showed up. In your opinion, What did the City Hall, what was the city able to recover in terms of algorithm? What were they able to extract in order to reuse this know-how that was acquired after 6 months of artificial intelligence? What do you think? Zero. Nothing. Nothing. They did not get anything. They had to start from scratch. If they leave the provider says, okay, but you're not getting back 6 months of artificial intelligence. So in this type of situation, we realize that intellectual property, your investments, they are not safe in the cloud if you do not are aware of this flexibility, of this capacity to warrant that your investments have this level of flexibility. That's why at OVH we're working on a IA offer based on open standards that will allow you to export and to warrant that what you pay for is yours and that your intellectual property is your return on investment. So this is the issue around the cloud. I talked about reversibility, interoperability, data protection, respect for intellectual property. Let's see in the field, at company level, how things are going on. It's my great pleasure to talk to Stefan Eisenbeck, who is the owner of and founder of LinkByNet.
Bonjour à tous. Alors Stéphane, en quelques mots, que fait LinkByNet? Alors en quelques mots, c'est compliqué. Alors je ne vais pas faire les 3 marques de tout à l'heure. LinkByNet s'est créé il y a 17 ans, un 1er avril. La date est très importante. Il y a 17 ans, ça veut dire que je te dois le respect, puisque toi, tu as 18 ans, donc c'est forcément, t'es mon aîné. LinkByNet, nous étions 2 au départ, 2 frères. Aujourd'hui, on est quasiment 700 collaborateurs. On est répartis sur la planète, Hong Kong, Singapour, le Vietnam, l'île Maurice, la France, l'Amérique du Nord. Et notre métier, c'est avant tout le managed services. Et on gère des infrastructures de clients qui sont de clients plutôt grands comptes, plutôt prestigieux. LVMH, L'Oréal, Saint-Gobain, Sodexo, Michelin, enfin voilà, dans les grandes lignes. Et on a une grande particularité, c'est qu'on est depuis très très tôt multi-cloud et qu'on gère un certain nombre de tes meilleurs amis.
Et donc, par rapport à cette expérience, est-ce que tu peux nous dire 2 mots sur ce que tu rencontres au niveau des entreprises par rapport à ce type de préoccupation?
Alors, les entreprises qui sont nos clients, elles ont à peu près toutes nos problématiques, c'est-à-dire qu'elles ont une problématique de disruption et de risque et de survie. Donc, elles sont confrontées à un enjeu qui est un enjeu d'accélération extrêmement important. Et bien évidemment, l'IT est au milieu de cette accélération. Et alors, on l'a évoqué très largement, et tu l'as évoqué tout à l'heure, ces entreprises, elles vont avoir besoin de cloud. Elles y vont, la question n'est plus quand, c'est un peu le sujet, puisqu'elles y vont toutes. Et donc, elles ont des enjeux qui sont des enjeux de compétences, des enjeux d'accompagnement, des enjeux de gestion multi-cloud. On a une interface qui s'appelle Self-Deploy qui leur permet de déployer worldwide des VM sur du multi-cloud. Et donc, elles ont des enjeux qui sont des enjeux, je pense, essentiellement de rythme et de vitesse aujourd'hui.
Est-ce que tu pourrais prendre un exemple pour illustrer sur un cas concret ce type d'enjeu ?
Alors oui, des exemples. Oui, je pourrais prendre par exemple, on parlait d'éditeurs tout à l'heure, on a un client qui s'appelle Sage, qui est un des plus grands éditeurs mondiaux. Et Sage a eu un enjeu de migration de deux data centers physiques legacy, puisqu'on en parlait tout à l'heure. Et donc on les a accompagnés dans à la fois l'audit de l'existant, puis la migration des 2 data centers en province vers Paris, et une partie en arbitrage vers du cloud public. Et donc ça fait une démarche assez longue.
Très intéressant. Et alors, dernière question, si l'on regarde un petit peu dans l'avenir, est-ce que tu sens une tendance à la simplification ou la complexité va encore être plus grande? Comment?
Pendant des années, les DSI essayaient de tout mettre dans un seul data center. On appelait ça de la consolidation. Et puis aujourd'hui, être DSI est un vrai enjeu, puisqu'ils vont avoir des infrastructures qui vont être spreadées sur la planète.
Sometimes you have multi-cloud hosting in Russia, in China, and sometimes have multi-technology in SaaS. And so the problem for the IT people is to orchestrate all of this and to sort of map all of this. And then we have also a challenge, which is a major challenge. We were talking about this, the challenge of reversibility. So there's a sort of paradigm that's rather complex, and to say that when you are very pressed for time, you're going to find a certain number of functions that are deployed via the cloud, and that gives you a lot more stickiness. You have to be much more attached to your cloud, but it's also a luxury to be able to say that I'm completely independent and have a reversible, fluid approach, and to master totally your development. So there's a sort of balance, so that if I go here, I know that I know I can do this easily. Otherwise, you have to go things from scratch. It's a real subject. So there's a lot of complexity. So thank you, Stefan. It was a real pleasure to talk with you. Now, maybe one final comment before leaving. About a few months ago, I listened to a show on BFM, and the journalist was interviewing the person and said, "Why do we not have any Google in France?" And it was quite funny because the guest said, "We don't have Google because we don't have Google." And I thought, that's a little funny. I don't understand what you're talking about. He says, "We don't have Google because we don't have a driver. We don't have a technological engine or driver or locomotive that creates a certain creation of certain groups." And so I admire the success of OVH. It's an incredible success story, and I really wish and hope that you become the European Google, and so that we can, and if we can be Facebook to your Amazon, we'd be very happy as well. Thank you very much, Stefan. So, as you have seen with Stefan and through the problems that we've exposed, for certain people we can see the end of the tunnel, but there's still quite a lot of ground to cover. We see the light, but we're not there yet. So depending on the situation in which we find ourselves, each of us in your companies. Now, so what we're going to look at now is concretely what we bring to the table at OVH with regard to all these different issues. OVH has been engaged in an open cloud, and this has been since the beginning. In our DNA, freedom, choice are at the heart of the story of OVH's success. Innovation is freedom is our slogan. We have this in our DNA. Now, if you look a little bit at the products that we provide to transform this vision into a reality, let's talk about the offer, the open source offer, which is one of the components that's important of our open cloud approach. Open source, we propose a lot of open source solutions. And you can see there's a lot of advertising for open source. You have OpenSafe, OpenStack, a Linux distribution, but our cloud audience is entirely based on OpenStack. But it's not just open source. The industry, by using products at a large scale in legacy, products at certain providers, have created de facto standards. These are technologies that you all know, that you all use. These have become standards. And these standards, we host them at OVH. And the list keeps growing each day. Just to give you an example, VMware. We talked about VMware earlier. VMware is hosted at OVH, and it's really a very good reference as a de facto standard. Our private cloud solution is entirely based on VMware. Now, I can also say that we work with other big actors in the software platforms, which we're going to be able to host very soon at OVH. But unfortunately, we have to wait a few months to announce their names. The works are currently underway, and we will be able to show you very quickly that this desire to host these de facto standards will take another magnitude at OVH. So these two aspects, this open standard, open source standard, de facto standards, these are fundamental technologies. But beyond these technological aspects, OVH is committed also in the development of of the regulations for the clouds. We want to be a co-developer of public structures, notably European structures, to regulate the cloud. Over the last 2 years, we participated in the creation of an association for infrastructure providers in Europe. We called this CISSPECT, Cloud Infrastructure Service Provider in Europe. So CISSPECT, over the last 2 years, has brought together 20 providers that are today members of this association, more than 20 providers, and OVH is the president of CISSPECT. So we can talk about CISSPECT for quite a long time. I'm just going to give you one example to show the work that this association does. Here I have certain peers who has issued in Europe the first conduct cloud for a given sector to conform at the GDPR. Is it finance? No. Is it health? No. The first conduct code that was for issued for GDPR was issued by CISSPECT so that the infrastructure could conform to the GDPR standards. So all this is what CISSPECT does. All of this work is done at CISSPECT.cloud, and I invite you to go there to get all kinds of interesting information. Through these few examples, we've seen technological elements, regulatory elements, and all of this in the infrastructure dimension. But when you talk about the cloud, it's not just limited to the infrastructure. You talk about the cloud and you talk about applicative layers, passes, containers, connected services, referencing engines. All of these things are part of the cloud. And so we have to address these issues. We can't just talk about or work on the infrastructure elements or dimension. We talked earlier about standards. So let's look at the whole panorama of standards that you have in the cloud environment as a whole. It's impossible to make sense of it all. It's a jungle. Nobody in this room could list half of the organizations that are that work on the standardization of this or that different niche level. WV2, W2, SNCF works on microservices, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody works on different organizations and associations that are working on different niches and different standards. But the companies want to focus on the development of their core business, of their applicative services, this sort of transversal approach, and that's the only subject that should concern companies. Everything else should be under the control, but within a company, you can't be an expert on all of the technical aspects and all the standards out there. So there's a real risk, because if you're not an expert, because you don't know them all, then the risk is that you'll make choices in your own silos, and you will discover too late maybe that you made the wrong choice. And so by lack of information, you might, or by underestimating the risk, these different technological elements will create constraints and create these silos. And you have to go further, and we will go further. We really need to develop an open cloud. And so today, I am very proud to be able to announce to you the launch of an initiative that will develop this open cloud in Europe and throughout the world. I have the great pleasure to announce the launch of the Open Cloud Foundation. Now, it's been more than 3 months that we've been working with about 20 companies and organizations and suppliers to define the needs and the fundamentals that need to be addressed to have an open cloud for industry. Now, first, it's clear that the agenda needs to focus on the 4 imperatives that I explained to you earlier: reversibility, interoperability, data protection, and the respect for intellectual property. These are the 4 imperatives that will constitute the agenda of the Open Cloud Foundation. But what will the Open Cloud Foundation do in terms of actions? Well, we're going to act on 3 types of actions. First, we're going to promote standards when they exist And when they are pertinent, rather than reinventing standards, we're going to select those standards that already exist and that comply to the principles of the Open Cloud Foundation. Now, sometimes certain domains will require new standards, and we will work with the right structures to make sure we can enrich standards where there are things missing. The first step is standardization through promotion. Second step is to be a privileged partner of the public structures that are in charge of the regulation of the cloud. And so these structures need qualified input, and we need to establish this dialogue to really enrich this cloud approach. And the third step is to help you to understand this jungle, to understand who provides what by labeling the different solution providers. You have a very simple labeling, totally compliant, partially compliant, or not compliant at all. And that will give you a very easy way to understand and see and develop your job services that you will find in the various service, silos that I mentioned earlier. So these are the 4 subjects: reversibility, interoperability, data protection, respect of intellectual property, and 3 types of action: promote standards, be a force for proposing regulations, and labeling for the different existing offers. Now, in the 3 months to come, we will write the statutes, write the governance, define the conditions for membership, define in detail the roadmap for 2018, with whom we're going to work, with the more than 20 companies that you can see here on the screen, which are today have already taken this step and say, I want to be part of this initiative. It's strategic, and the desire of the Open Cloud Foundation will be to regroup both those who produce but also those who use these services, both companies and providers, and to take within this reflection all those who are going to facilitate the transformation of solutions, research centers, consultants, and you can see through the diversity that appears here that there already today are service providers, platform providers, big major players in the business world, major companies, major consulting structures, and research laboratories that are all involved. So there you go. This subject is clearly strategic, and the question I'm asking you today is, does it concern you? Do you feel concerned or involved with the open cloud? Yes? Yeah, you're interested in it? Really? Truly? Well, then you have to express that, because in fact, it's your ideas, it's your problems that are going to be put into the agenda of the Open Cloud Foundation. So either you express yourself through Twitter, through LinkedIn, and to express the problems that you want to see treated by the Open Cloud Foundation, or come join us. Come join us. We put into place a whole Seb White Open Cloud Open-Cloud-Foundation.org, and over the next 3 months, we're going to keep you informed of the governance that we're going to put in place. And so the first quarter 2018, this foundation will be totally operational, and you can contribute. So this is a big moment, I think, for our community, for our industry, and for industry in general. And we can see in summary that the cloud really is strategic for the economy. It's strategic for you. In the 8 years to come, it will be 10 times more important for you than it is today. The weight of things that we need to do, it's going to be even more expensive, even more complex, so we have to act now. Anything we do later is going to be even harder to do. So the challenges of the cloud are totally manageable today. I mean, this is not a subject that's overly complex. We just have to get organized. And the good news is that the industry is taking charge of itself to organize itself to handle with this subject together. So I invite you to join us, and I wish you a wonderful OVH Summit. See you soon.
The partenariat avec OVH est stratégique et technologique. OVH ayant pour ADN de pousser en permanence la limite des technologies que nous mettons sur le marché. Dans un mode où chaque personne et chaque machine crée de plus en plus de données, le rôle du cloud devient de plus en plus important. Le cloud, c'est là où la valorisation des données se fait et il transite vers plus d'as a service, tout as a service, mais surtout l'accélération du traitement as a service. Par exemple, dans le domaine du stockage, avec le chiffrement, dans le domaine de la reconnaissance d'images, due à l'intelligence artificielle, enfin dans la médecine de précision, grâce au séquencement du génome. De plus en plus, nous travaillons aux côtés d'OVH sur l'intelligence artificielle. C'est à nouveau des architectures spécifiques, on parle d'ASIC, Nirvana, pour accélérer dans les data centers les fonctionnalités d'intelligence artificielle. Si on se projette dans le futur, chez Intel, nous avons toujours des technologies qu'on voit comme étant disruptives. On a besoin de partenaires, tels qu'OVH, pour transformer ces technologies disruptives en services et solutions qui seront valorisées par leurs clients. OVH est une des sociétés les plus innovantes en France au niveau technologique et c'est une grande fierté pour Intel d'être à ses côtés. Je vous souhaite un excellent OVH Summit et en profite pour vous inviter à venir voir toutes ces innovations sur notre stand.
It's the moment you're all waiting for. It's the moment where we're going to talk about DCLEC. This year, we have drawn the straws and we have all of the directors here and we're going to see who wins. François, Jean-Louis, David, Giovanni. Everybody okay? October 2017. Even my grandmother, and listening and watching her TV news program, heard talk about artificial intelligence and big data, of deep learning, of machine learning, of serverless services. So obviously, we are all very excited by these new technologies. We've all got the desire to be at the top of the trend. And it's true. It's true that we are living a key period, a changeover, a revolution in technology here. But the future remains hard to understand in terms of which technologies will succeed. Will they be the FPGAs like Microsoft thinks? Will it be these dedicated processors, the ADICs, which with the TPUs from Google? Or will it be the GPUs that are very fashionable today? Or, very simply, a new development of x86 chips, processors. So you who are currently thinking about your next investment cycle, how can you be sure that you will make the right choices? And above all, that you will be profitable and that these investments will have a good return. If I would add to this technological uncertainty the new practices in terms of IT development, and I'm talking here about continuous integration, microservices, APIs, I can tell you, do not take all these risks. Share these risks with a company whose job is to invest in new technologies and in innovations. We're aware that you've all invested and that you want to capitalize on your investments, on the training that you've done internally with organizations, and even certain teams have had certifications. So keep this knowledge, keep this skill, keep this expertise in. We can give you the time to adapt, to these new technologies, to these new concepts. So come to the cloud, enter the cloud with your skills, with your way of working, with your technologies. What I mean by that is you need to subscribe to the subscriptions, to the applications in the cloud as they are without adapting them, without touching them. And we're going to announce HTX as an exclusive offer at VMware in Barcelona 1 month ago, the big VMware mass, HCX. Retain these letters. Remember these letters. HCX is the brick of the VMware system to do a hot data center. You can have a hot data center. By that I mean without downtime. You take the virtual machines from your data center and we migrate them into any data center OVH throughout the world without any downtime. A simple vMotion and a few clicks allows you to deplace one virtual machine with its context, its environment, and its storage. Obviously, you will say to me, how can you interconnect all of that, your data center, to the OVH data center? Well, there are several ways of doing it. The best is to have a direct connection and secured connection. We call this VRAC Connect. VRAC Connect. You can connect your data center through a number of POPs that we have and all the POPs that we are currently deploying today. And if you're not eligible to VRAC Connect, then you have HCX. HCX allows you to do the exact same job, but as software. Always in the same segment, OVH is going to create a secure connection between your business all the way to AVS over the internet, and to maintain the connection between your virtual machines upstream before, during, and after the migration. So you can opt, as the Pune Group did, with our Link by Net partner, to the physical transport of data. With several clients, we've tested sending a physical filer that could travel, with which we migrated hundreds of terabytes. Now, migration is not going to happen overnight. But there's many of you who profit from the cloud, first and foremost for the management of your backups. The solution of In-Cloud Connect, which we set up this year, is perfect to back up any infrastructure, your dedicated servers, and even your own workstations. Often, entering into the cloud is done via PRA, a plan for restructuring your activity. We can build a PRA with a lot of process technology, and we propose one of these technologies. We call it Zerto. Zerto is in as-service mode. Now, when I meet certain of you, you tell me that you have applications that are very heavy, very burdensome types, for like databases, and you challenge me regularly on their optimal functioning in the private cloud. And so I have good news for you. As of January, we're going to launch vCen in private cloud, in all-flash mode. By that I mean that we're going to use the SSDs that are local from the servers to host the virtual merges. We benefit from the NVMe system to function the virtual machines, and this replicates the data automatically in another physical server. This is clearly a benefit now. This is clearly not a moment to take risks. Let's use mature technologies that you control and master and benefit from all the security that's necessary for your business. Now, in addition to the PCDSS certification that we did on private cloud, I'm going to remind you that something that's obligatory for all bank credit card data. We also have this year the certification of hosting of health data on private cloud. And I have a big announcement to make. We are going to extend the certification of ISO 27001 to the private and public OVH clouds. All OVH clouds will be certified throughout the world. All OVH cloud solutions will be certified throughout the world. But security is not just a question of certification or rubber stamping. No, it's up to you to ask us for solutions that are adapted to your needs, like NSX. The NSX, which is the security brick for VMware that allows to create microsegmentation and firewalls on private cloud, which we announced this year. Or we have our famous anti-DDoS, which today has attained a capacity of 4 terabytes. 4 terabytes. That's 3 times more than the biggest system in the world today. And we are working today on HSMs, hardware solutions for managing cryptography and encryption, which will allow you to manage independently and autonomously the encryption of your data. And I'm going to summarize. Interconnection, extension of data centers, migration of data, migration of data centers. You are in the era of the hybrid cloud. The era of the hybrid cloud has arrived. It's 5 years we've been talking about it. It's here today. It's concrete. It exists. Now, who in this room can predict what the cloud will be in 10 years? Well, obviously, we talk about reversibility. We talk about cloud and all its sauces, public, private, hybrid. But ultimately, what counts in all of this is to be able to manage your information systems serenely, to ensure that it's constantly able to be maintained, regardless of the technologies that you find on all these different life cycles. Now, to be transparent with you, we have encountered the same problems as you. The good news is that we have found an answer. The keywords: scalability, stability, security, and liberty. Yes, to win your liberty, you need to standardize things. Now, let me explain. What we propose to you is to stop living in technological uncertainty. Let's take an example. You've already heard of Docker, the containerization. It's a great technology, and yet for those who have chosen to go into this, it requires rethinking all of the life cycles of deployment. And there, I'm not talking about problems of security or all the different orchestration engines, Kubernetes, Swarm, Marathon, and all the others. The paradox is that you need to guarantee the stability of your information system while using technologies that are by nature in constant change. Now, obviously, I'm talking about infrastructures, but developers, they're also confronted by these same problems, choosing the latest fashionable, trendy framework and technology of whatever I learned in school, what I've heard of people talk about. What about recruitment? Recruitments that don't launch because of the legacy that needs to be managed in an obsolete technology. This is something I'm sure you all know about. Well, what we want is to take care of your developers, because a happy developer is a developer who's involved, creative, innovative, and who remains with your company. And the common denominator of all of this is standardization. And it's that ability that OVH can offer you in terms of all of this uncertainty in IT today. So how do we do this? Well, we provide these building blocks as services. You consume them, and everything is standardized. The technology evolves. We evolve and develop it for you. We manage the risk associated to this complexity for you. And by complexity, I'm not talking simply about technological developments and evolutions, but also the capacity to deploy infrastructure offers that are phenomenal to accompany your growth. All of this as a service. Because, yes, you don't know it, but today I'm saying you consume the architectures as services at OVH. So let's take an example. Matrix Data Platform. Metrics Data Platform, we pushed the screw all the way to propose the 4 greatest standards today: OpenTSD, Prometheus, InfluxDB, Graphic. Why? Because each tool corresponds to a particular and precise usage case, because we're not forcing you to enter into a box that suits our needs. We propose the tools that serve your business. And so the solutions that we choose need to be a gauge of quality. They must be a gauge of stability for our customers, for you. And we have chosen OpenStack, the de facto standard which you are already using through the public cloud. And today I have two announcements to make to you. First, you're going to be able to consume dedicated servers, Metalbar, through OpenStack. You'll be able to also consume VMware infrastructure that's ultra-secure via the components of VIO, VMware Integrated OpenStack. This is private cloud that's compatible to OpenStack. Now, we're fully aware that the deciders, the decision makers, that you guys are the decision makers, know that putting all your eggs in the same basket is risky. And so when you ask a supplier to respond to your needs, ask the question to know how you can keep your freedom. How can you get out and remain free? Our desire at OVH is to propose to you all the different bricks to build your architectures today and tomorrow. These same bricks that will accompany over the next years as your needs grow. Your needs to be resilient, your need to be consistent, your need to be scalable. We talk about distributed architecture, microservices, the event-based services. But let's also talk about serverless services.
A serverless architecture will allow you to abstract yourselves completely from your infrastructure. Not just a hardware layer. You already know that with virtual machines. Now we're talking here about forget completely EU servers. You don't need them anymore. Self-scaling, horizontal, dynamic, eventual. Think about your business. Focus on your business, on your clients, which is what your added value is. And stop wasting your time on hardware and machines and only work with functions and events. I want to talk to you about a new product, OVH Labs. It functions as a service. Functions is the tool that will accelerate the heart of your core business. How does it work? You deploy a function, your code, wherever in one click, whatever it is. And you have an authentication service, a data analysis function, a real-time calculation function, no problem. It's just like a Lego brick. You plug it in and you hit the run button. We manage the rest. Let's imagine you have an authentication service. Let's say you have 10 users to manage. Tomorrow, your system grows. You start your special sales, and suddenly you have 100,000 users signing up. You have nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do or to worry about. We manage the redimension of your infrastructure. We manage the technology. We scale it as you go. You focus on your core business, on the quality of your applications, on the management of your operational risk. And very quickly, very simply, you have access to the tools you need, whatever these tools are. These tools that are going to reduce your time to market in a spectacular way will avoid you going through the stage, I have to build my infrastructure first. You need a database? Just access a database as service functions. Do you need to monitor? You need to measure? You need to your quality? Nothing could be simpler with Matrix and Logs data platform. Functions, it's really a toolbox, and it becomes the single point of entry of all our products. It's a toolbox that is going to make your life simpler and easier, and also the life of your doers, and your developers are going to love that. When we're offering you a service to you, we always test it thoroughly, we enrich it, thanks to our expertise, but thanks essentially also to your feedback. We have been challenged a lot on the open source factor. Sometimes we have not done things right, but you need to know we are huge consumers of open source technology. We are huge contributors to the open source universe. Of course, we support the community. We let emerging ideas come up. This is the reason why I want to talk to you about a specific topic which is very dear to us, this community spirit that is present in our DNA ever since we started OVH. You all know our mailing lists, our completely transparent press releases. Many of our projects are born in our service, but they then develop thanks to the community of people around us. We talk about the open sourcing of our client space, our development tools Python and Go, our continuous integration platform CDS, our OVH Labs, our research and development projects. We talk about a real open source strategy, a true OVH open source strategy. You need to know what we do and how we do it. And this is the recipe for an excellent relationship over the long term. This is our spirit. I would even say it's our philosophy. It's not just a spirit, it's a philosophy. OpenStack, Ceph, Prometheus, OpenTSTB. These communities bring together thousands of experts. These communities allow us to find the solutions for the needs for tomorrow, and that is why we are very motivated to contribute to them. Imagine open source as a way to test massively your product. It's a continuous improvement cycle, a large-scale continuous improvement cycle that is going to give you the resilience, the strength, this extra strength for the development of your product. That leads me to conclude. Do not forget, it's the diversity that makes our strengths. Standards bring us together. We've just been talking as bricks as servers. Let's not forget that a majority of the apps actually run on classical infrastructure. And this is where the OVH wizardry operates, with vRack. Let's imagine, within a single private network, a true level 2 network, and you allow infrastructures to communicate, vSphere, a physical server, VMware, and virtual machines in a multi-tenant environment. In fact, actually, you migrate your internal IT into a private cloud, you host your database, your biggest databases on big dedicated servers, server farms, and for your web fronts, you just scale by only using what you need of public cloud. And this you can do it between all of our data centers. vRack, just like our networks, is worldwide. In terms of scalability, we have redeveloped entirely our load sharing solution. And I'm very proud to tell you that we have the availability of our new load balancing offers. In public mode, public IP towards you public IPs, but also in private mode, one public IP towards your private IPs in the vRack. It's this solution that today supports all the websites of our mutual infrastructure. This solution is the one that encrypts in HTTPS and SSL, over the third of the French web. What we have wanted to do for you is a solution that can be scalable infinitely, no limits, so that you can be secure that the day your website or your application will be shown in the evening news on TV and the audience explodes. With the rock-solid load balancer, you can, of course, control it in a couple of clicks via our administrative interface, our client interface. You can also use the OVH API, but that's not it. David early on spoke to you about the OpenStack API that will be able to control dedicated servers or WestFair infrastructures. Well, here again, our new load balancer can be controlled via the OpenStack API. That is our philosophy of an open cloud. When you have a standard API, we add to it the optimized and adapted bricks to your needs. Okay, we've talked a lot about infrastructure, eAPI, etc. But the cloud is first and foremost to meet the needs of the industry. Let's give an example. Knowing who your clients are, a 360 view on what your clients want and who they are. So for this, of course, we are going to talk to you about artificial intelligence. But don't be afraid. We are just going to take the fear out of these big words. Yes, Germain. When we talk about client knowledge, we hear lots of things: big data, machine learning, AI. Maybe you even heard the press talk about deep learning or worldwide neural networks. But behind all that, there are simply three concepts. And you are going to realize that in your company, there's already something you're doing on a daily basis. You're already doing AI on a daily basis. The first element is machine learning. We are going to use the data, the legacy data, and of the present data, in order to predict what the future holds. But this you already do it in your company partially, when you do your sales forecasts, or your store forecasts, or your website analysis and traffic. The second element is the deep learning, and this is the revolution, the actual revolution, neural networks. What we're trying to do is we're going to try to make the robot think by itself, have the machine become intuitive. Seeing, hearing, capacity of understanding spoken speech, summarize a long text in a couple of sentences, or product description in a couple of words. That's what AI is all about. Concretely, let's take the example of a retailer, a company from the hypermarket. The absolute nightmare for this company is to have empty aisles. Imagine, I go into my favorite supermarket, I come to the soup aisle, and there's no more tomato soup. But there's actually still tomato soup in the store, but it's in the organic aisle. Well, the managing system, actually, they are not prepared for these user cases. And this is where AI comes in. AI understands the products through their description and proposes a substitution. So you here listen to me and say, okay, how can I today, can I participate in this AI revolution? Well, we're going to start by gathering data, because these AI algorithms are extremely hungry for data. And we're going to do it thanks to the universal data connector from OVH. Connect data from your computer system and bring them to the database on the cloud. And then we need to clean these data, prepare them, make them palatable for the system. And for this, we're going to use the big data. And you'll be able to use the OVH infrastructures that are compatible with the major standards of big data: Hadoop, Spark, Flink. Now that the data is ready, we need to analyze this data. And this is where the machine learning comes into effect.
Et pour ça, OVH a innové cette année. Et vous propose des distributions.
And for this, we have specialized package distributions that are compliant with data science standards for machine learning, R Python. All this accessible for your data scientists, to your data scientists. It can be implemented and scalable in a couple of clicks. And the last element is deep learning. We are the neural networks. They're coming. They're just around the corner. Two things need to be taken into consideration. The first one are the algorithms that are required. Thanks to the framework, we'll be able to take out as much as possible, use as much as possible of the hardware. And OVH has innovated again this year. And we now offer you new computing distribution specialized in deep learning with the major standards of the market. Many other standards, Keras, Torch, etc. And the second element, it's the capacity, the calculation power. And this is now an announcement I make today. OVH, it's the first cloud provider in Europe that is offering you the NVIDIA DGX1 with the V100 architecture, the Volta 100. The latest generation of GPUs specialized in deep learning. Just imagine you have 1 petaflops of calculation power. This is almost as much as the biggest supercomputer in 2008. This is what we're offering today. This is why we talk again about artificial intelligence, because the algorithms, they date from back to the 1980s, but at last we have the technology and the computing power that provides the necessary performance for concrete examples. So I'm not going to hide. OVH has always tried to offer you the latest technologies, the latest innovations, and the maximum of performance. Well, we talked about GPU. Let's talk now about CPU. With the latest Intel Xeon processors available actually on our dedicated servers, and shortly on a new generation of instances in the public cloud, but also on the private cloud. And that's a novelty. Within the private cloud, you will be able to personalize your service, your hosts. If we talk about CPU performance, let's look where we stood 4 generations ago, 4 years before, 4 generations of Xeon processors. We can see a growth of the performance, improvement of the performance of 157%. 157% performance gain in only 4 years. And that is not counting with the new instruction codecs with APX 512 that allows us to multiply by 10 the applications of the applications that support these types of implementations. So we talked about GPU, CPU. Now let's talk about FPGA. Last year, we announced to you the FPGA as service for expert developers. In 1 year, we have learned a lot, and we have worked together with our partners in order to offer you this year the acceleration as service. That means it is a material platform. It's the latest Intel FPGA for cloud environments. It's also a software attraction layer, open source standard, on which the companies like our partner Axelize plug themselves in to offer functions, libraries, We call this IPs. Let's call them accelerators, so that the FPGA can be accessible to you who are maybe not experts to implement such a system. Among the use cases of FPGA, you have packet analysis. This is what we do on our anti-distributed attack system, compression, encrypting, search engines, and also the deep learning. There is another use case what I was very surprised about, the analysis of the human genome. That is what one of our partners does, the Bluebee company based in the Netherlands. Bluebee is working on analyzing DNA as fast as possible, because in the field of health, the time to get a DNA analysis is extremely vital, fundamental. And you know that when the computing power allows us to save human lives, then our job takes on a completely different meaning. Okay, you got the idea. What we want to tell you today, it's not necessary to rethink your entire infrastructure and applications in order to join OVHcloud. We create the solutions that guarantee you the stability and the resilience and the safety and the reversibility of your entire infrastructure. Today we wanted to present you our innovations that are focusing on the cloud, but we're developing new ones every day for storage, for the web, for telecom. And this is thanks to you, thanks to your feedback, and for this, thank you. Come and meet our experts on the exhibition, in the labs, in the demos, in our conferences, in the workshops. Test, participate. Today is your day.
Le partenariat Cisco-OVH, c'est 10 ans d'accompagnement de la croissance de l'infrastructure réseau et du cloud, mais c'est aussi un partenariat d'ingénieur à ingénieur qui permet vraiment de développer des produits qui collent aux besoins d'OVH. Le next level, c'est de faire x10, 10 fois plus rapide, 10 fois plus de devices connectés et 10 fois plus d'intelligence. Un des exemples, c'est l'Internet des objets. On voit bien l'accélération du déploiement de l'IoT. On voit bien qu'il y a de plus en plus de devices à connecter, que la masse de données générée par ces devices doit être stockée et traitée, et qu'elle explose aujourd'hui. Tout le monde a vu aujourd'hui, les voitures savent se garer toutes seules, mais ça nécessite que le conducteur amène à une place libre. En fait, ce que l'on a fait dans un programme de co-innovation avec des constructeurs automobiles, on a équipé un parking et un quartier avec un ensemble de capteurs et de caméras vidéo, et grâce à des algorithmes d'intelligence artificielle qui tournent dans le cloud, la voiture connectée à ces informations va aller se garer toute seule et fournir un service de valet parking automatique. Ce que le cloud va permettre, c'est d'industrialiser ce déploiement et de rendre l'accès à ces informations et au traitement de ces informations le plus pervasif possible, de façon à ce qu'on puisse délivrer ce type de service au niveau global et pas parking par parking ou opérateur de parking par opérateur de parking. Le cloud, c'est d'abord un moteur d'innovation et c'est un axe très fort de la stratégie de développement des produits Cisco. Je vous souhaite à tous un bon OVH Summit plein d'innovation.
Wow.
Bonjour à tous.
Hello everyone, I'm the man with the fantastic shoes. I hope you're fine. I brought you a gift today, a technology that my colleagues and friends have not yet talked about today, a technology that is going to allow to multiply your speed of implementation by 4. And the good news is that all of you are going to take it with you today, but I'm not going to speak about it immediately. First, I want to talk to you about the future. This morning in the keynote, we said that OVH had developed a vision 10, 20 years down the road. It's true. We need to look far down the road in order to be able to orient you better. Let's come back to last year. I was standing here on this stage And I was talking to you about a number of technologies, about 10 different technologies that were going to be pregnant in this 2017. Many of them have been incorporated into your projects, have been talked about. But what is really interesting, I made one forecast wrong, one particular, the time to market. Time to market went even faster than I thought. Let's just take one technology. With my magic wand, I was talking about the mobile only. We were talking about the natural user interfaces. And actually, they're already here. Some American companies already announced a couple of days ago that they will not be developing their websites anymore on navigators, but only on apps. And that is what we call the mobile only. And in some parts of the world, it's a daily function. And we already has changed to the next level because now it's touching all the households. People were wondering what would be the fifth connected object in the houses after the tablets, the PC, the TV, the smartphones. People thought it was going to be the watch. No, the watch wasn't really a big surprise. Others thought that the glasses, the connected glasses, didn't really work. No, but what we've all been fascinated, it's the talking plastic box. 15 million smart connected objects in the households in the US. Digital assistants to bring new elements in the house, and we'll talk about it. The voice only, we've already went over to the next level. What will be the technologies that are going to rhythm this new years? How are things going to evolve? Well, all these technology bricks which we mentioned, the cloud bricks, the things we saw early on the network bricks, all these bricks will continue to be important. 5 technologies will be carrying the year 2018, and I want you to discover with them together. The first thing is we're going to go even further down in the cloud structure. Of course, there's different public, private, hosted, non-hosted. We were the first ones to offer hosted private cloud with VMware 5 years ago. The interconnection is going to happen. It's going to be across providers because 70% of the companies in 2018 will be using at least 2 providers. That's why the Open Cloud Foundation is so important. But beyond that, the exchanges even themselves will be even richer. We will not just focus on sharing VMs, virtual machines, and exchanging data. The next levels in the highways will allow us to exchange containers between these different clouds, and we'll even exchange clouds between these different clouds and move them between them API requests. So this takes us to the second technological point, the progressive evolution at stack level. More and more abstraction towards the PaaS and the function as a service. We are going away from the infrastructure, and we're focusing on the core business. And there will be other stages following right after that, like business processes as a service, enterprises as a service, and even success as a service. And the third point has been developed early on by Jean-Louis. It's artificial intelligence. I'm not going to go back to the conference that will be happening this afternoon here. The first point is the actual state of the digital transformation between 2010 and 2020. The companies have worked on convergence solution. You are bringing all your data together. You said bring them together on your servers in the cloud, prepare them. This is value. You'll be able to use them. Many of them, 80% of you, have started converging their infrastructures, their databases, their data, their content. But the second stage, the one that started in 2015 and it leads up to 2025, it's making money out of this convergence data. All these processes, machine learning, deep learning, generalized learning. But once I have to identify the pattern, how do I make it into production? How do I transform this understandable intelligence into an operational intelligence? And the fourth tendency, it's the evolution on the blockchain. When we're talking about technology on a market, I've given you a small equation here. the market value success, what allows you to determine the penetration rate, it's the perceived benefit multiplied by the cost and the trust. When we talk about blockchain, this is a technology that is supposed to increase confidence, but people are very worried about it. People hear a lot about alternate users, criminal users, and people do not only see the benefits via the things people think. Fintech, crypto money. They don't see all the other uses that can be there. It's our job this year to work with you together with the governments also to explain to you all the positive uses of this technology that is already existing, that is already used in more than 20 different industries. It's being used. It's not just something for geeks. Here's an example a couple of weeks ago. It was an insurance company that worked together with airports, hotels, travel agency, and airline companies. And they set up a very simple system. When your plane is cancelled, your flight is cancelled, I think some of you have already experienced this, automatically the airport is informed, the airline company is informed, your insurance is company, and they immediately launch the process which you have to decide. Either book you a hotel room, rebook a flight, or you have a taxi waiting for you. You receive an SMS. You have not done anything. You did not have to talk to anyone. It's all automatic, and on your phone you get a message saying there's a taxi waiting for you. There's another technology we're going to hear a lot about. It's the edge, because understanding data and patterns is great, but if I don't exploit it as close as possible to my production lines, in my usages, in the industry, in connected objects. Of course, we talk a lot about the connected car, but we don't talk too much about all these industry production, supply chain, grounding, warehousing, where we need these technologies. Let's take the example of this client, Tell Me Plus, a company that proposes to embark decisional networks within the robots that are on the production chain in order to be able to adapt the production just in time. So it's basically the machine that does the calculation, makes a decision by itself, and they're connected to huge networks that allow you to have a centralized and globalized vision and to calculate at the whole thing at cloud level. This is the fifth big axis we're going to work all together. Now, all this is part of a much wider process. People talk about the fourth technological revolution, but there's a first stage, the first one, digital transformation. It includes 4 next level: daily life, business, transforming jobs and education, and transforming of the states, of the governments themselves. This is where we've seen most changes. Let's see today where do we stand in terms of digital transformation. Let's have a look at everyday life. We talked about this morning. We are more and more users of this technology and this transformation. 2.5 exabytes of data per day on the planet. That's 360 gigabytes per day per person. That means that globally, every week we fill a big hard drive, every one of us. Not just, it's us plus all the interaction with the digital chain, and of course all the interaction of the machines among themselves. And it's huge. And all this is linked to the fact that the technology is absolutely ever-present. These are signals we receive every day, and after a while we are so used to it that we don't even realize them anymore. Let's take an example. Last week, Monday, I go to a hotel. I arrive at reception. There is no reception desk. There is a tablet. I get my key. It took less than 30 seconds to book a room. Monday, I go to a restaurant. I sit down. I order a pizza. It's drag and drop on my table. I can build my own pizza. On Wednesday, I go to the airport. Now there is a luxury brand that has a connected machine that allows me to buy my products. On Thursday, I go home. I said I'm going to relax. Oh, I have a speeding ticket. So what happened is I took my phone with a flash code. I flashed the code. It took me directly to a website where I paid with my credit card. 2 seconds later, I got an SMS from the French government saying, "Thank you for paying again money to us." And I found it fun. I had fun paying my speeding ticket, my traffic fines. All of us, all these companies, we create 1,000 new apps per day. That's 100,000 new apps each year. The saturation level is, we have reached a saturation. It's very hard. So there's nothing revolutionary in there. And nothing was going to make you say, oh, and A. What is extraordinary is at which level it's become ubiquitous. It's been absolutely current. Nobody notices it anymore. It's so absolutely mundane that you say, oh, I have a completely crazy idea. I'm sure somebody's already made an app about it. So on Friday, I needed to store theater stage sets. I said, maybe someone had an idea of stage set storage, and I found quick stock, and it's just, you can, if you have stage sets to store or merchandise to store, it exists. There's a huge work that exists at your level in the past 3-4 years on the importance of user experience, UX. This UX is fundamental because it just transformed our lives, not just are these technologies all around us, but we've become addicted to them. The application I made, the Buzz in August, it's the reply as app. It allows you to block your teenagers' phones until they answer your message. We're all addicted, and it creates a new a time scale, a time to market wheel. It leads to trivialization, and it's concretized by a user addiction. Your app is cool, and the market grows. And let's see how far the business is going.
Du côté du business, je vous présentais une étude qui a été réalisée par l'équipe d'OVH.
This is a study that was realized by OVH. The points you see behind me represent the countries in the world. Top left, these are the countries where all the cloud technologies are used for small services, small clouds, small projects, small medium companies. But that's not all of them, but mainly. Further down, bottom right, this is the companies where the big companies, they have transferred all their legacy and their big projects into the cloud. This is what the situation was in 2014. This is the evolution of all the countries in 2017. This is the forecasted evolution in 2020. And you can see that all the countries are shifting. They are all moving towards the cloud, towards the digital transformation. It's not just the countries, the digitalization also. 2 years ago, all the industries were not necessarily impacted by this digitalization. It was mainly key sectors, retail, health, insurance, fintech, all the fundamental parts of the tree. But more and more, even the niche businesses have switched to this digital transformation. Up to the point that even today, and we'll not go back to all what we've debated 3 years ago, we're not going to talk again about the taxi with Uber, we're not going to talk about our 100th time about the Tesla electric autonomous car. I'm going to talk to you about sea taxis. River taxis. Well, even niche areas like this, companies try to be disruptive onto this. Let's see, take clients like Sea Bubble, who are testing water taxis on the Seine, on the Rhone, and who want to they want to export their flying electric sea taxis in other countries around, like Singapore, Bangkok, Melbourne, or London, everywhere there's rivers or sea, and hopefully very soon Paris and New York. If we talk about other technologies that did not even exist, that only arrived with the revolution, the drones, for instance, all these technologies, they go via 7 stages. The first one is the concept stage. Then you have the prototype stage, we test the thing. Then you have the technological, the gadget era. This is when you buy a drone, you play around with it, but it's because it's cool playing around with a drone. You have no use for it, but you actually buy it because it's cool. Then we have the startup stage. We take this technology, we integrate it with services, and we offer it on the market. Then the startups grow up and they become providers. And there's a market, and they try to take foot into that market. They see clients, they see opportunities, and then comes the sixth stage, the competition among the providers. Other providers say, oh, there's money to be made here, I'm going to move into that market. And then we max out the market, and we have the maximum maturity levels. We need portals in order to pick the proper technology among all the offer. Where does the drone stand today? Regarding the darling drones, we have a European portal, HOKE. It filters 200 drone-related services in Europe. If you need a drone to find out where your vineyards are, there is such. You need a drone to check out the roof of your house to see if there's any shingles missing. You need a drones to check the state of an infrastructure of a radio antenna. It exists. We are extremely mature in these areas, particularly in sectors that have developed very, very quickly. Well, how about jobs and education? Over 10 million of articles on forums and internet regarding IA. Is it going to destroy jobs or not? That is a big question everyone's talking about. Well, let's look at these figures. If we look at the countries where the medium and big companies, the ones that have enough employees to be representative, have used deep learning, machine learning, and other concepts of AI in an operational mode, the second number 2 in the country is 49%, or in Australia, 49% of usage and project tests. The world leader is India, with 58% in project testing with big company. A country in which the culture of engineering, of mathematics is made very strong, can explain maybe the reason for that. But what is interesting is that in these companies, we ask them, do you create jobs? 80% of the companies have created jobs through AI. So they've created more jobs than they have destroyed. But the most interesting part is that 60% of these companies have not destroyed any jobs. That is interesting. There's still one point left to see. What happened to the 37% that are left on the side of the road? How can we get them back into the workplace? This is where other researchers and other businesses are coming up, like EPTech. Ford has launched a ranking for the 10 most innovating companies for education. One of them is Domoscio. They're offering the construction of pathways on demand based on artificial intelligence in order to be really exactly tailored to your needs and what you need, how you need to evolve. So this is really going to be interesting in adult education and further education after school. Because this is great, because the technology that is accused of destroying jobs is also be the technology that will allow people to get back to work very quickly. There was another startup called Benelux School that allows to be as early as possible coaching youngsters to help them find their way in this digital universe and allow to reduce the gap and avoid them getting lost in this universe. So we need to work on both aspects. The next level will be the governments, the states. We talked about the citizens, the companies, but are the governments, are they reforming themselves fast enough? Very often we think, no. Let me give you one champion. There's a world champion in this model, and this world champion is Estonia, with 99% of public services are online, 95% taxes paid online. But the most important, they have created the X-Road that can be used for everything. It's an ID, a passport, it's a library card, it's a health card, it's also an electing card, allows you to access all government and public services, and all your medical data is linked to this. How about the confidentiality? Well, they walked around it by using technologies and understanding the fundamentals. Blockchain, in order to store the data in a stored mode so that no one has full access to the full set of data. And the citizen is informed if one data is modified by all the other parts. And that is a usage that we need to learn from. Everything I'm telling about allows us to talk about the fourth industrial revolution, what I call episode 1. digital transformation, everyday life, business, jobs and education in the countries are being transformed. And it's moving on at a very, very quick pace. And up until 2021, we're going to pursue these elements. But there's another revolution, much more important. It concerns the 5 other next levels. User interfaces, dimensions in which humankind will be evolving, the human body, the science, which is not being mentioned earlier often enough, and the human person in itself. And this second part, it's the complete transformation of the human. This is what I want to present to you this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and I hope you'll be numerous here to come and listen to the rest of the story. Thank you very much. At 2 p.m. on artificial intelligence on this stream. And this will allow me to explain to you what is inside this gift, and I hope that you'll be numerous to come and listen to me and to discover what's in the box. Of course, we are going to continue the summit on music, else it wouldn't be a summit, but we're waiting for the band and the technical events to prepare. At 2 o'clock, there will be a conference on the next level humanity. After 3 o'clock with Jean-Louis, we'll talk about artificial intelligence and particularly applied artificial intelligence, concrete elements. At 4 o'clock, we'll talk about marketing and particularly about data-driven marketing together with Vincent. And then at the end of this session, at 5 o'clock, we'll be coming together for the digital launch platform and the award recognition, so you'll know which startup has won the prize this year. I wish you a good lunch and see you at 2 o'clock right here.